This is my FMP pitch for Crafts magazine. These were my 4 initial ideas. I had 2 music videos, a documentary, and a magazine. So the first 2 ideas were music videos. They both kind of had the same aesthetic to them, so I only really made one mind map for the main music video that I wanted to do before the magazine. It was for Lana Del Rey's Summertime Sadness. I feel like filming it in a field would have fit the theme of the song, just because summertime would just kind of fit that theme, I guess. The second idea was a documentary. The documentary would be on my friend. She does creative practice course at this college, and she does a lot of crafty things at home. And I just thought it would be very interesting to kind of see what she does, why she does it, and how she kind of got into doing all this crochet and sewing. My third idea was a magazine, kind of based on the same idea as the documentary. Yeah, so showing what Lucy does, but also kind of showcasing some of what I do at home and some of what my mum does as well, as features for the magazine. So my chosen idea is the Crafts magazine. I've chosen this because it's more photography based and I prefer photography. And it lets me showcase what I do because I crochet at home a lot. So it shows basically what I make at home and how I ended up learning how to crochet. So I did feasibility studies for my magazine and documentary. They're both feasible, but the documentary is definitely the easier idea because it would take less time to shoot and to put together. But I've still decided to choose the magazine because I just prefer photography and I feel like it's more my thing than filming a documentary. So these are some of the locations. I will be filming kind of small how-to videos. So this first location here is the kind of crafts table in my living room where the videos will be filmed basically with the sewing machine and the stand and stuff. And then this will be where some of the locations will be filmed or shot, some of the projects. And then the studio, we'll be filming a lot in the studio, more for the fashion-y side of things, for some of the clothing items. So the purpose of this product is to show anyone that if they want to crochet or sew, that they can, and that they shouldn't let anything stop them, especially younger people. So the primary target audience for this is non-traditional, and it's targeted for ages 16 to 20. This is to encourage them to do what they want to do. And the secondary target audience is kind of 21 to 30 years old, because it's still non-traditional and still kind of young, so they can still pick up a new hobby instead of scrolling on their phone, I guess. So for deconstructions, I'll be deconstructing some tutorial videos from an Instagram page from the Sewing Studio and 2 different magazines. I haven't picked out these magazines yet, but they'll both be craft, crochet, sewing themed, just because that's kind of what my magazine is going to be. So it'll be easier to deconstruct, and it will also give me some more ideas on what I can include and how my magazine can be laid out. So for product research, the research will mainly be based around crochet and sewing because they're the 2 main themes of the magazine. I will be researching kind of when they became more popular, when they were discovered, stuff like that, and just researching kind of the different stitches for the 2 different crafts and the different techniques and stuff to kind of add into my magazine. So the theories for I will be researching are uses and gratifications and identity. I'm researching identity because it fits well with the fact that the target audience is quite young, and with crochet and sewing, it's kind of like a community with it, so it kind of helps people find themselves in a way. The test shoots, I will be completing a few. There will be some test shoots taking place in the same location for the tutorials. I've already done some of these and they went relatively well. I just need to figure out when the best time for lighting is with the natural light with the window in front. And there'll be a few test shoots shot in the studio for the clothing and the fashion types. And then there will be, if I have time, there will be a few more test shoots kind of on location, like in the foresty walk type of place. This is my production schedule. This is the most recent one with the updates on what I finished. The only issue I have is that because the magazine's going to take a while to put together, that I'm going to fall behind just a little bit. That's the only issue I kind of really have. I think this is going to work because I enjoyed making the interactive magazine, and although this is going to be a print magazine, and so it's going to be longer and harder, definitely, I have experience using InDesign, and I'm kind of excited to learn new skills. And from other units, I've definitely learned that something will always go wrong, and that you kind of just have to work around it and try and fix it as best as you can. So that's what I'm going to try and do. And if I need to go and reshoot some things, and if I have time, I definitely will. Just try and make my life a lot easier. Do you have any questions?
Brilliant, well done, that was very good, excellent. I only have a few questions actually. One was on your research and industry slide. Could we go back to it, because I missed the industry bit. And,
oh yeah.
I was just interested to see what that said, because I didn't manage to read that. So companies that sell yarn or fabric crocheting, such as Wool Warehouse and Woolbox, companies like this, and we sold their types of magazines, of course we sold more independent small shops. That's cool. What I would recommend for in terms of industry research is to, you know those magazines that you picked out at the beginning that you said you're going to deconstruct? Find out who publishes them, who are the publishers of those, just so you've got an idea of like what are the main publishing companies that publish that type of magazine.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So just look for the publishers of those, of your magazines that you can deconstruct. The other thing was that I was really interested in is, you mentioned a few times about this non-traditional young audience for crochet, and you talked about it quite a lot in a previous slide, but then you made a comment where you said, because you talked a lot about hobbies, and then it says it on the slide, but then you said with your words, instead of just scrolling on phone. And I feel like that's actually like a really nice aspect of your project, and that you should talk more about it. Maybe in your research as well, you can put things about, like, I'd almost love to see a little bit of like, I'm 100% sure that you could go and find studies or research papers that sort of talk about the effects of doing mindfulness activities and how that improves concentration, emotional well-being, like stuff like that, compared to hours of scrolling on phone. And I don't want you to like go and do like a whole massive thing or anything like that, but I feel like there must be very easily accessible content on that topic that you could put into your research report, and I would be really tempted just to touch on that.
Okay.
Because I think it's a really important point, like promoting activities that are hobbies that sort of keep your hands busy and keep your mind occupied and that sort of thing. That's what we all want, isn't it? Is to like be kept busy from things sometimes. Sometimes you can't just sit and watch TV, you've got to do something else at the same time, right? And it's just one of those sort of like, have a go at doing this instead of just scrolling social media at the same time, sort of thing. And like, what the benefits are of that to your audience. Because I think you could put a tertiary target audience of parents, and the parents being like, maybe this is something that would be healthier for my child to do, to sort of get into, or maybe I could start doing it and encourage them to do it with me, that sort of thing. And that's who I'd say is probably your tertiary target audience, but I'd love to see a little bit of that research in your research presentation. because that would be really interesting. And the other thing was, you mentioned at the end you're worried about the editing, and you've got InDesign experience, but you're worried about getting it all put together. So have you thought about the fact that you could start slamming pages together now in InDesign?
I have thought about that, yeah. Trying to see what I can do
Because
first.
you can drag and drop imagery in up until, you know, the deadline day, couldn't you? Things could change. You could start laying your pages out, you could write articles, you could put the text in, you could start putting images in, you could even put placeholder images in, knowing that you're going to ultimately, at the end, you could just change an image out really quickly right at the end, and even do a shoot, you know, 3 days before you hand in and think that was way better, I'm going to put this image in instead. And the images can change right up to the last minute because they're all in placeholders, aren't they? Placeholder boxes. So there's nothing to stop you from starting to put that magazine together now to help you sort of get. It might make you feel more at ease if you've got the template there ready to go and you're just filling in the text and pictures as you go along. So it's really good. But other than that, I'm really pleased with it. You're not going to do a documentary, are you? But you are going to do some how-to videos. Is that right?
Yeah, there's going to be some video elements added in. Yeah.
But your magazine is a print-only magazine, and the video elements are going to be on like a social media site that goes alongside a print magazine.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Lovely. That's it. Brilliant. Well done. Thank you. Cool. I think we've got all of that.
Oh,
That's it. I'll take you.